you all, and I'm gonna be in this thing till I frickin' die.
Thank you, Quebec.
Thanks a lot, Carl. That was awesome. We do love Quebec. In fact, we love every single province in this country. This has been an amazing experience, super positive and happy and loving and warm. And you can do a protest and be super positive. You don't have to be angry, because we're not angry. We're just upset. We're frustrated, but we're still loving people. Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Next, we've got Mark Friesen, amazing man. Come on up, Mark. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Thanks, Haley.
Way to go, Mark. Patriot.
Good morning, Patriots. How was your full first Patriots Day? So, I gotta tell you, I'm not, nor have I ever been or thought I would be a public speaker. I actually tend to stay away from big groups and do my own thing. But I've had and developed at least 10 to 15 years of anger and frustration and disappointment by my government, and then sometimes my fellow Canadians, because I've always been a rebel myself from day one. It's in my DNA.
Welcome to the club.
And I'm here with a bunch of rebels.
Yeah.
I was on the road with a bunch of rebels.
Yeah.
And we're rebelling.
Yeah, we're rebelling.
We're rebelling peacefully.
The Canadian way.
The Canadian way. Thank you.
Apologizing too on the way.
But it's working. I'm going to give you a little bit of history of sort of my experience and perception of this movement. And I'm speaking of the Yellow Vest movement, because that has also been as frustrating and created some anger along the way. When this thing first started, it was for me, it was a godsend, because I've waited so long to be provided a platform that we could call them out.
Yeah.
And so when it started to develop, there was a lot of people with a lot of emotions that have been building up for a long time. And so when that group came together, primarily on Facebook and then in individual rallies across this country, it really excited me and excited a lot of people. And as Canadians and as Yellow Vests, we all have our individual idea of what's going to fix the problem. We all come to the table with different ideas because we all have different experiences. It's a big country. They're big cities, the big towns. Everyone has different experiences. We come to the table with different perceptions, different ideas. But we all, 37 million Canadians, have one thing in common, and that is the love of our country. So it's been a battle. It's been a battle internally. Then the Convoy came to play. And the same things happened there. We're brothers and sisters in this fight. And we are united for the same goal to take back our country and our sovereignty.
We are.
But we are brothers and sisters, and we are passionate, and we have our beliefs, individual beliefs, which we're fighting for. We need individual beliefs. We need to express our views amongst ourselves. We need to have the battles amongst ourselves. We need to fight with each other, because that puts us in a better place when we come to finalize what the goals are, so we can identify and all work in the same way. This is what I've seen happen throughout this movement from day one till now. The Yellow Vests have come together. There are different groups of Yellow Vests. We all get it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to have the debates. We need to have those struggles and conversations and open the dialogue. The Convoy has experienced the same thing. Right from when we left to this morning, there's been internal debates. That's healthy. That's how we learn from each other. Absolutely. That's how we come together. We're brothers and sisters in this fight. Nobody, if we're united under the goal of keeping Canada and our sovereignty and our freedom and our liberty. Nobody can divide us from the outside. We're not divided. We just have different ideas, but we're moving in the same direction. So when I talk about Canadians making me frustrated and disappointed at times because they have been sleeping, but we all share also that same anger across this country. We've seen it in this convoy. My expectations for the convoy have been exceeded by 1,000, maybe more. The love that I've seen from when we started to when we got here is really blowing me away. There isn't a word that describes it other than love.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
And so we're sharing this experience not only with people directly involved, but we're sharing it with the country, and the country is waking up, and it's so important that we do. Because while we have different ideas in Canada and different ways to fix different issues in different regions, in order for us to keep our country and allow us to have these debates with ourselves, with our brothers and sisters, we have to keep our country sovereign.
Yes.
And I'm telling you right now, this very day, we do not have that sovereignty.
God and country.
Right now, the UN has its tentacles in everything everywhere you look around, they're involved. This agenda, 2030-21 Sustainable Development Agenda, will be the demise of our country if we don't stand up to it and force whoever is there. I don't care who sits there, but they have to represent us.
That's right.
If we don't demand that they pull out of the SDA, the UN SDA, our country will fall.
We're out.
It absolutely will. I can't stress it enough.
Yeah. You're right.
It used to be a conspiracy theory when I first got on this investigation of what's happening and trying to understand it for myself, because it used to be the only information you could get were far right or far left or actual conspiracy theorists. So you had to walk through this maze of information to get to where, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. There are the dots. And it was real. And it existed.
Yes.
But whenever you would explain it to somebody, their eyes would gloss over as soon as you turned it into the Sustainable Development Agenda. Agenda 21. As soon as you mention those words, you're a conspiracy theorist. The media said you were. The politician said you were. Your next door neighbor said you were. And I was on an island by myself. And I know there's a lot of people out here right now that felt that same thing. This has encouraged me like you wouldn't believe to move forward. Not that I needed it, because I'm a rebel, but now it's interesting, because when you go to do this research, all of a sudden, go to Google or go to YouTube, type in, and this is a message to all Canadians, not just the people here. Do your research, connect the dots, it's all there. When you go do your research on YouTube and type in Sustainable Development Agenda, boom. There's probably 100 videos, all positive for the UN agenda. All promotion now. All of a sudden, this conspiracy theory that we've all been labeled with for 10, 15 years is all of a sudden being promoted by the UN and the media. Well, funny how that works. The only reason they're doing it now is because they've already got the tentacles in place. Go to your city council. Every one of you that's listening in Canada, go to your city council. Ask the administration. Don't ask the city councilors, because they either don't know, don't care, or they'll ignore you. Go to your administrations and ask them how much of the new urban agenda / Agenda 21 is put in place. How many of these issues? Do some research. I'm not going to spend 2 hours with the mic educating everybody in Canada what that is. Connect your own dots. Do some research. Go to UN Sustainable Development Agenda and New Urban Agenda. Check that out. And then ask your city council how much of that has been put into place where you live. For example, bike lanes in Saskatoon. You know what? I support people who ride a bike at -25. Holy smokes. Right? Like, wow. You're a rebel. But there's only 12 of them in Saskatoon. And they want to shut down pretty much all traffic in town. It doesn't make sense. It's not applicable to Saskatoon. Can we accommodate those 12, 13, 15 bikers in Saskatoon? Of course we can. We can work out a plan that works. But this plan isn't developed in Saskatoon. This plan comes directly from a policy from the UN. How is it possible that the global governance of the UN is creating policy and it's being instituted in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan?
Bullshit.
How's it possible?
Bullshit.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
That's why when I talk to people and we talk about this, they're trying to understand why they're angry because they see what's happening, but they don't get it. So I try to help them get it, and guess what? They're actually responsive. Now it's like, really? That's what's happening? Yes. Thank you.
Wake up, Canada! You tell them, Mark.
So we've been constantly, it's like a barrage now of all of these policies that are developed at the UN. So they've taken it a step further, and this, I mean, for a lot of you folks, you get it, you've seen it, you already know all about it. But it's actually putting it all into everyone's sort of wheelhouse, so they'll see it. It's called the UN, United Nations Parliamentary Assembly. Anybody heard that?
Yeah. Tell us.
I guarantee a lot of Canadians haven't heard this. Because your media, our media,
They're buried it.
they don't talk about it. They talk to a reporter, ask them about the Sustainable Development Agenda. They'll have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Or they'll pretend they don't.
Otherwise known as Agenda 30.
So there's the UNPA, the Parliamentary Assembly. There is a campaign right now. Go to the UN website. It'll tell you right there. To have global governance. You think the EU is bad? You think Britain is pissed off about losing their sovereignty because of the EU? Just wait till the UNPA Parliamentary Assembly comes into place. That is your global governance for everyone to see. And you think it's bad now with a bike lane in Saskatoon or a carbon tax that isn't applicable, or an attack on pipelines, or an attack on the energy industry. You think those things are bad and waking up the country. Wait till global governments comes in mainstream. We're doomed. We are doomed as a sovereign nation. Now is the time to stand up.
Get rid of it.
No more UN!
Oh! Oh! Oh!
This is all facts. This is all there. It's just, please, Canadians, I'm asking every one of you. I'm hoping we've stirred you. I'm hoping I've seen it. I know what's happening. We need it on a mass scale. We need critical mass of information. So I'm asking all of you here today, I'm asking all of you at home, on Facebook or social media, in your living rooms, talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to your co-workers. Get the message out. Tell them you don't want global governance. You don't want the UN Parliamentary Assembly. It's even hard to say every time I say it. These people in this building behind me, there are parliamentarians that voted for UN Parliamentary Assembly. They voted for it. To me, where I stand, that's treason.
Traitors! Traitors!
Big time.
It is treason, and it needs to be stopped, and the only people that can stop them is us.
We are the voice! You know it! You know it!
So, they said for a long time, it's been indoctrinated in all of us in school and in our society, that nationalism is a bad word. Nationalism isn't a bad word. The definition of nationalism is advocating for the sovereignty of your country.
Yeah!
Seems pretty straightforward to me.
I love my country!
We're not putting any names or any identities in front of that word, other than Canadian. So it's Canadian nationalism. We're a bunch of patriots that are advocating for the sovereignty of our nation. The media is fighting back on behalf of the UN to demonize us. We're seeing it right now. Yesterday we had an individual from Kenya who the rebel, I think, asked, how do you respond to when the media calls us racist? And there's an immigrant from Kenya standing there with a yellow vest. And now CBC, from what I understand, has called him a racist. And it's funny because it is, but it's serious. As funny as and ridiculous as that is, it's serious. That's how it doesn't matter how ridiculous their words are. It's the narrative. It's the narrative they just keep pumping and pumping to put us to sleep. Well, thank you, Glen Carritt.
Thanks for the
Thank you, Glen Carritt. Man, I'm telling you, I've talked to this guy on the phone probably on average 3 times a day since day one of the convoy planning. I've developed a really solid relationship with Glen. I call him a very good friend of mine now. This man, I mean, before I get there, everybody in this Yellow Vest movement on Facebook, at home, at your rallies, I mean, I know it's a similar story to mine, and my story is 16 hours, 17 hours a day. A lot of it's herding cats. My brothers and sisters in the movement, we all have different ideas, so it's herding cats and it's tough. But we all want the same thing at the end of the day. Same thing. So when I talked to Glenn and he put this absolutely colossal organizational feat together, it's to me it's amazing that we can accomplish it, but it's amazing to me that Glenn and Haley and his crew could accomplish this. So give Glenn and Haley and the rest of the crew a big, huge.
Thank you very much.
Do me a favor, just show your appreciation for what they've done and what the time that they've spent and dedicated. None of us are getting paid. None of us are earning a wage. We're doing this out of love for our country, for our fellow people that we work with in the pipelines, for the people that we live with. We're all doing it out of passion and patriotism. Absolutely, future generations. So at the end of the day, all of this time has been dedicated for this moment. And yesterday was the proudest moment in my life as a Canadian. And we have to keep the momentum going.
We're proud of you.
And I also want to thank the rest of the guys in the convoy. Let's hear some horns. They might be frozen, but see if we can light it up, boys. Can we light up some noise?
There's some noise coming.
So this whole crew, none of us, I was talking to a couple of guys yesterday after the rally, and I asked some people how many of these folks, if like you guys all know each other from before, like you're all good friends, a lot of you. No? Just met for the convoy.
Yep.
So this whole thing came together and it's ran pretty much like clockwork. There's been some bumps in the road, there's been some things going on, but so do me a favor, honor Haley and Glenn and their crew, honor them by not buying into all of the talk, because there's a ton of it. I've been involved from the beginning. I know exactly what's happened. The video that was released last night exposing some things, I've known it all along. It's part of the process. Things need to happen. I know that when the name was rebranded to United from Yellow Vests, I know that was hard for the Yellow Vests, but it was part of what it took to get us here. I understood that, and I try to tell as many people, just understand it's the end goal. We have to make some tough decisions to make sure this happens. And it happened. And we have done something that nobody's been able to do ever.
We're doing it.
And we're uniting our country. We're informing. We're educating. We're going to take our country back. We're going to own it. We're going to maintain it. I don't know how to end because I'm not a professional speaker. I didn't write a speech. It's just all in my head. So
Canada.
You rock, man. Yes.
Ender with all Canada.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Let's do all Canada and end it. You're awesome, man. Oh, way to go, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Fantastic speaker with a great message.
Yes.
So we're coming to a conclusion. We've frozen up here enough. I want to thank. We're gonna wrap it up because we got the trucks on the road. We can have a couple more, but we're gonna bust out. I want to thank everybody that's come out. I want to thank all the officers, OPP, on the hill. They're doing a job. They're instructed to do what they did. Want to thank Ottawa for their hospitality. Want to thank our great country, Ontario, every province. Just say thank you. Steve Prokowski with National Bus Lines donated that bus, painted it up with United We Roll. Just a fantastic team. It's just been a great journey. Just remember, we gotta make our home now, so we're gonna make it home nice and safe. United We Roll, Convoy for Canada. How about OP Papa to control? Let's have one more big long horn honk there. Can someone get control on the radio? That's your cue.
Hey, Glenn.
That's your cue.
Glenn. I was hoping I'd be able to say something. We spoke this morning here about it.
Sure. Yeah, they can. But we gotta go. Did you get control? Okay, one more horn honk, and it'll be OP Papa out.
They're coming, Mandy. They're coming.
Remember to pick up your garbage, leak it clean.
Hold on.